Hey there, it's Cookies, and the gaming industry has become a bit of a castaway dilemma in recent years. Most gamers feel torn between generations as the industry on the macro scale determines what it wants to be. You have Nintendo isolating itself into the next major console reveal, the Switch 2.0.
First of all, congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
Microsoft openly taking shots at the local pub as it buys out the bar for Activision Bethesda, and with no thanks to the FTC, many more.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money.
And Sony ever so innocently conditioning the SIE ecosystem to favor live service titles, microtransactions, and constantly being made aware of all the items you can and inevitably will buy time and time and time again.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar.
Most unfortunately, we have seen the push for purchasing unfinished carbon copy products of mainstream trends. Now, 2023 has been exceptional as the gaming industry combats these types of images, but that is due to the trench warfare from third-party companies. I have said time and time again, even before this year began, 2023 was going to be the year that third-party developers take over the mainstream with the enhanced power of modern tech combined with unique ideas. What if I told you we finally have a title that pushes the barriers of narratives in video games, provides a fantastic gameplay loop that ages like fine wine with the dozens and dozens of hours you put into it, and actually is a complete product with zero live service elements, pay-to-win initiatives, or microtransactions?
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy.
CJ has to bet, and he's also dumb. Even though he's blind, he's not very fun. He has his own talk show. It's every gamer's dream. It's a crazy little talk show, and it's called Cookies and Cream.
As a fan of Dungeons & Dragons, Baldurs Gate 3 was a title I had my eyes on, but not really expecting what has shaken the industry to its core. Larian Studios is an underdog story come to fruition, as the idea for this title was originally pitched years and years ago, only to be told they weren't ready for the daunting task. In response, the devs created Divinity, which many RPG fans fell in love with. Years later and after the post-glow-up of Larian, were they then approached again for this idea. Devs get to work launching alpha builds as an early access, and a few years later of refinement come what is now being marked as the natural evolution for RPG games. This all comes down to one fruitful detail in the game's code. Every choice matters. It's important to know now that for most AA titles in the industry, if you're a third-party publisher, you want to aim between like 2 to 3 million copies. That tends to be a good sign of success for a lifetime product, maybe even pushing 5 to 8 million if you're one of the bigger dogs like Capcom. As of recording this, Baldur's Gate 3 devs Larian have already surpassed 3 million units sold. We have all played choices in RPGs, and games where the whole decisions will shape the narrative are huge marketing buzzpoints, and it's very easy for the marketing team to put that on a little PowerPoint and boom, you can go to lunch at like say 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Take Telltale's The Walking Dead, where a set of bilateral decisions that shape a set of predetermined outcomes. There are also games like Skyrim, where there are major points in the story where you can make adjustments to what occurs, but then also the open world allows you to craft your own stories and smaller outcomes through gameplay.
Still look forward to working with you, John. I mean that.
You want a coffee?
Well, I don't know.
Fucking Christ.
Baldurs Gate 3 merges the two in a seamless pot while also upping the ante. Staying true to the D&D style, the character creator is excessive, giving the player endless variables to adjust to their whim. We then have an overarching plot that is filled with primary, secondary, and tertiary characters that are all consistently engaging, pushing the fight against the Mind Flayers to a breaking point finale that more than justifies the 100+ hours spent to reach the conclusion. In one of the greatest tricks that this game pulls with its narrative, your created character has no spoken dialogue. It goes to that old school style where you read a bunch of text and what you choose in the options for dialogue is what will be conveyed to a T to the NPC you're talking to. At first this seemed a little offsetting, but it actually works in the game's favor because there's no more guessing what you're trying to accomplish. Fallout 4 tried to do this both ways where you had a character that would speak. However, the dialogue options you choose wouldn't really correlate with the tone of the conversation. In Baldur's Gate 3, you always know exactly what you're going to be choosing for every dialogue option that you have, which is absolutely terrific, and only further incentivizes you to be immersed on another level that most RPGs in recent years just haven't struck. The secret sauce to making this narrative venture work is in the details. And that is how the game's organic story takes into account the smaller details tens of hours before you realize that choice could matter in any regard. Even littlest details that seem rudimentary or just by the books in most other games. Even renowned titles like Fallout, Skyrim, and so on. In a ton of RPGs, you play the zone, kill the boss, loot the goodies, see the fancy cutscene, lather, rinse, repeat. Well, what if I told you every object in this world has a story? For example, you say you are walking, let's say you are walking down the street of a fallen town and see a dead soldier on the side with a necklace. In most RPGs, you would loot the item and you could equip it to benefit your stats, maybe plus 5% ability to read sentences, whatever. However, just like how Death Stranding recontextualized ground traversal in games, making walking entertaining, Baldur's Gate 3 has done the same for how we interact with items in a world. That necklace you pick up could have been stolen from a rival faction months ago, and from casually strutting by, you could run into one of these you could run into someone who had that necklace stolen from them, who could then mistaken you for the one who actually stole it, and come beat your ass. You may also not have noticed that necklace belongs to a specific religion in the world, one where an ally of yours does not agree with it. Wearing this necklace could provoke a fight and hurt the relationship with one of your allies in the game. This is one mere minute example, but elements in the game like this make you stop and ask yourself, what does this object mean in the world? What is the context? It's not like Skyrim where you just roll into people's houses, steal a whole bunch of cheese, and then just go on your merry way.
Maybe you're looking for something particular.
The NPCs in Baldur's Gate will remember that shit, especially if it's Gouda. For establishing notoriety of being a thief, guards in a town may offer up moments to frisk you randomly. Heck, doing good deeds for one may be seen as a con for another group, meaning simple decisions like helping a traveler on the road will have a lasting set of implications even 10 to 20 hours down the road. This is an RPG that feels like a living, breathing world, and how you can change it and mold your own character. Not just every faction, or every person, or every zone, but each and every item is rooted with some grand significance far beyond what appears on the surface, mirroring the feeling of true Dungeons & Dragons fashion. This is expansive in its own right, but further encourages the player to stay dialed into the world and become immersed in ways I've not felt in a long time. The narrative on the grand scale is engaging and thought-provoking, while also ensuring the moment-to-moment experiences are dynamic, with hundreds of potential short and long-term outcomes to keep the player engaged. In Baldurs Gate, if I can go to a drive-thru Wendy's and me buying a 10-piece nugget without fries will end up taking me on a grand crusade to travel back in time to prevent my first ever high school erection in biology class, then hot diggity dog, this game did something stellar.
Alright, guy.
It goes without saying that the gameplay itself is visually stunning and engaging to play. While you start off in RPG Fundamentals 101, the build variety goes toe-to-toe with all other major titles of its genre. The grind is never too long, the enemy encounters are mostly unique, and every waking moment spent in this world feels like the best parts of the greatest D&D matches you've never played. The game itself is turn-based, and while I preface if you are familiar with the 5e rule set, you'll be fine. If not, hit up your Apple Watch for the 5e rule set, and you'll also be fine. It goes without saying, the combat, regardless of class, is addicting, and balanced incredibly well. You don't run into grind sessions with microtransactions or incentivized in-game purchases. This title feels complete. Everything in the game that you can earn, you feel like is there for you to earn. There's nothing that feels artificial in nature with the scope of the world, the experiences of the quests, the moment-to-moment interactions as you're just walking down an alleyway. It all feels handcrafted and open for you to experience, especially without a credit card if you've already bought the game. If Witcher 3 revitalized open-world adventure titles and Elden Ring revamped open-world level design, Baldurs Gate 3 just revolutionized the status quo for RPGs. And in a year with legendary titles like Final Fantasy XVI and Diablo IV, that is no small feat. From every environmental score to heightened boss battle, NPC conversations, respecting of your build that makes zero fucking sense, and moments of wonder in the world, you can tell the devs loved working on this title. I am in awe of the foundation and the execution, which is something we will talk about for years to come. This feels like one of the first RPGs in quite a long time that feels truly dynamic, riveting, for fans of the genre, or if it's your first time dialing in, it just becomes a must-play. As the gaming honesty broker, I've been saying that 2023 is the year for third-party titles taking over. Now move over, Zelda. There's a new champion deserving of Game of the Year. Have you played Baldurs Gate 3? Do you believe the hype? Comment below and let me know the vibes. As always, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, or dislike and describe why your Dungeons & Dragons build would beat mine into a pretzel-baked submission. As always, this is your pal Cookies, signing off.